All right, welcome back to the show, guys. Today we're going to talk about the franchise research process and how you would go about working with a franchise broker consultant to help you identify your ideal business. And we're going to walk you through the process of this today. As a franchise consultant, the goal is to create a thesis, an avatar business for you, a buy box, if you would. And so we want to build a business thesis and essentially help you research 7, 10 different business models. And so this is the way we go about doing this. We typically start with a quick intro call. From there, we have you take an assessment, a business assessment. From there, we get the results back. We then have scheduled a 30 to 45-minute Zoom call where we're going to deep dive on the business assessment, and then we're going to deep dive into different sectors of businesses out there: home service business models, retail, brick and mortar, fitness, health and wellness, all the potential business models out there. We're going to go through those. We're going to get by then we're going to have an understanding of what you're looking for. And so that first real meeting is really a deep dive to kind of create this thesis of what the ideal avatar business would be for you. Obviously, a big component of this is your fundability. Maybe you're low liquidity, or maybe you have a ton of money. Maybe part of what you're looking for to invest into a business is because you need tax strategy, you need write-offs. Some of you want to go from working W-2 to being owner-operator in a business. Some of you want to be semi-absentee. Some of you are really looking for something as passive as possible, but you know owning a business will help you diversify the portfolio. A lot of you that I work with own real estate, are high-paid W-2 people, right? We all have our different starting points. And so funding is a big component of it. Whether you've got a ton of money or not, we need to figure out how you're going to fund it. Do you have an old retirement account that might be able to be rolled over? And so everybody has a little bit different situation. So we really want to assess what's your fundability, what investment range is realistic for you, and that's what the funding process looks like. And so I wear both hats as an SBA guy and also a consultant, understanding leverage. I've been doing that for many, many years. So this is a very strong point of mine where I can help kind of break down. Maybe you're low liquidity, but you own a bunch of real estate. Maybe we can borrow equity injection from a HELOC on that property. Maybe you can bring in a partner. Maybe you just have the cash around and you have plenty of cash for the equity injection. So we're going to figure this all out during this portion of it, right? We're going to give you kind of a realistic funding strategy so you know really where you want to be as far as your investment range. So once we've done the intake and we've created your thesis, we're going to go out and we're going to research business models that are available in your market. From there, our goal is to get 8 or 10 different business models to present to you. Once we're done with our research process, we're then going to book another hour Zoom meeting, and we're going to go high level over these 8 or 10 different business models. From there, we always like for you, in a perfect world, to say, hey, these are my top 3 choices that I'm interested in. Now, this doesn't mean you're committing to anything, but really what we want to do is we want to walk you down the path. We want you to, at the end of the day, there's going to be 2 things that happen. One is you're going to, as long as you're committed to the process, one is we're going to find your ideal business. The other option is that you say, hey, Bo, thank you I've learned a lot. I had a lot of fun, but owning a business right now is not really what I want to do. So those are really your 2 outcomes. So after the business model review, you've picked 3 businesses that are on the top of your list. Then we're going to introduce you to the franchise business development rep for that particular franchise. They will set up a 30, 45-minute deep dive on how the business model works, really deep dive, high level on the business model. Because when we meet with you, we're really giving you a 10-minute overview of the business model. And it's going to take you a while to really understand how the business works. Marketing, there's a lot of steps. So after you do your initial calls with the first three, let's just say, maybe you like two of them and you pursue the two. Maybe you say, hey, this third one, thank you for your time, but we're going to go a different direction. And that's perfectly fine. So now each one of these franchisors, we call them, they have their own kind of process of discovery that they'll take you through. And then as a coach, what we do is we meet with you once a week for 20 minutes, just seeing if you have questions, seeing if we can provide additional value. We have a lot of resources, checklists, and things that you'll need as you're going, contacts with CPAs and franchise attorneys, funding sources, all the good stuff, right? So now you have two that you're going down the rabbit hole with. You're doing discovery calls, you're doing validation calls, you're doing your due diligence. They usually have 5 or 6 steps they take you through so you can understand their business models. You're then at after usually the second or third call, you're going to start doing validation calls. That's where you call other franchise owners in the system in different markets. We're going to give you checklists, questions to start thinking about asking, things that you will need to know. I also highly advise people to understand the projection template. So when you get SBA financing for a franchise startup, you need 3 years of projection. 3 years of projections. The first 2 years broken out month by month. And everybody hates doing this, but it's actually the best thing you can do because you really understand where the revenue is coming from, what are your recurring expenses, and what is the net on the bottom line based on your projections. And you're calling other franchise owners. You're figuring out, hey, every time we do a service call, average ticket price is $800 or whatever it is. How many service calls can a technician do in a day? This is when you really start deep diving into the business model. So you've done now several calls. The first call typically is your initial overview call. Then they usually send an FDD, and the FDD is the franchise disclosure document, which has 23 items in it. It's usually a couple hundred pages, this document. Grab a cup of wine or a Coke, read through it, highlight things that you want some answers on or you have questions on. Look, there's going to be 23 items. Item 7 is the investment range. Item 19 is the numbers of other franchise owners. And so those are the kind of two major sections you're going to look at. You're going to look at everything and review. And on the second call, typically with the franchise, they're going to go over the territory size. They're going to go over the FDD, the economics. They are going to go over a good amount of details, but that's the validation process, which would be after that when you're calling other franchise owners is really when you're going to ask questions, the good, the bad, the ugly. Then after your second call with the franchise, usually they might have some executive calls, leadership calls. It's usually when the management team gets on and they see if they feel you out, kind of give you a better overview. You get to meet leadership. They get to meet you. From there, you're doing your validation calls. You're back and forth with the franchise development representative from the company. And then after all this, they're going to say, we'd love to invite you to Discovery Day. And once you get to Discovery Day, that's really the point where if you're going to Discovery Day, typically this brand, this business model is something that you're really, really about, you're really strong on. You're not going just to see it. You're going because, hey, I'm pretty confident I want to move forward with this brand. And this could be weeks or months later from the start of the process. It's not like this is all happening in 2 weeks. Usually it's a few weeks at a minimum, like 6 weeks at minimum. But we have candidates that we've been working with for a year and a half. I mean, people can take this process at their own pace. But then you would go to Discovery Day. And if it's a good fit, they would award you the franchise. And from there, they would look for the next couple of weeks for you to sign the franchise agreement, pay your franchise deposit or your franchise fee. So prior to all that, you'd have your funding figured out. during this process, and everything would be kind of going forward. Before you sign your franchise agreement, we always recommend that you talk to a franchise attorney to have them potentially review your franchise agreement before you sign it. Not everyone does it, but we strongly encourage it because we feel that you need to know everything and have it reviewed by a franchise attorney that specializes in reviewing franchise agreements. And your funding would be all lined up, as I said before. And so at this point, you've built out your projections if you're getting SBA financing. Now, when do you get, my advice for when do you get the financing involved? I think early on, you should have just a preliminary conversation. Like I have a template I give people to fill out, and it's just a really, couple questions. And from there, have a quick call. This is just on the financing part. I can usually assess very quickly if SBA financing would be a great option for you. But once you identify that you're going to move forward with a franchise, before you sign the franchise agreement, you got to go and you have to get everything lined up. I like to do it before you sign the franchise agreement. I mean, you should, because I should say loan amounts under $500,000, SBA uses a credit scoring model called the SBSS credit scoring model. And so you have to be ready to go because you need your business entity set up, and then you apply. Then they run this credit scoring model, which is 0 to 300. You got to score about a 160 or better. So you can't really get necessarily approved prior to having a franchise, but you can generally have an idea of what it's going to look like. And that's what we help people do too. We work with the biggest franchise lending, SBA lending banks out there. We have about 5 or 6 banks we work with religiously who specialize in franchise startups, really understand the space. And so when I said earlier, putting together the projections, although it's a part, I'm not a spreadsheet guy, I don't really enjoy it, but once you start getting in there, it's pretty easy. And it's really, you're going to build out a sources and uses, which is like franchise fee, all the fees for your initial startup. I need 5 months of working capital or 3 months of working capital. My sources and uses is $300,000. I know roughly I'm going to put down 20% of the total cost. So I'm going to put 20% down of that $300,000, and everything else will be funded by the SBA loan. Some SBA banks will end up to 90%, but typically on a franchise startup, most of the banks are around 80% loan to cost. So that's really a quick overview of the franchise process, how you work with a franchise consultant like myself or somebody on my team. And I got started I got interested in becoming a franchise consultant because I have been in the lending industry for 26 years and I originate a lot of SBA loans, and I would have a lot of people calling on financing a franchise. And I would always ask them, well, why this franchise? And a lot of times they didn't go through any discovery process. And you really have to talk and look at a lot of different business models. Don't just look at one or two just because you like the pretzels. You gotta go through this process with an open mind. And by working with a franchise consultant, they basically every week we're talking to 5, 6, 8 different brands, learning business models, learning who a good avatar for that franchise is, and really matching, right? Our job is to help match the candidate to the franchise. And I love the process. It's a great process, and it's people come into this thinking one thing, and they might end up with a home service business. They might think they want a smoothie franchise, and they go, well, I really don't want a brick and mortar location. I really don't want to deal with having a lot of W-2 employees. I like this other business model, which is a subcontractor home service based business model. So that's the discovery we take you through, and that's why we have you do the business assessment. And I've designed one unique for our business, which I think is more user-friendly. And you can go take that quiz or business assessment at businessownershipcoach.com/quiz. And it will email you a copy. It also emails us a copy. Actually, it emails you a unique link where you can see the results. And that's a great place to start. From there, we would have you do a discovery call meeting with us. We meet on Zoom, and we go through kind of a questionnaire, get to know you, understand your haves, wants, needs, lifestyle, what you're looking to do. Maybe you're just unclear of, you want to do something and you need a little bit of help to move you into the right direction. That's what we do in our team. And look, there's no stress. We're not calling you every day and going to pressure you into buying a business. It's really just a consultative discovery process. And like I said earlier, my expectations is that I'm spending time with you, investing time with you, and I just want you to commit to the process. Whether you decide you want to own a business or not at the end of it, I've done my job. So anyways, our company's goal is to help 10,000 aspiring business owners become successful business owners over the next 10 years. And actually, I'm scratching that and making that 100,000. Now, I might not touch everybody one-on-one, but through this podcast, this YouTube show, through the webinars I do, I will definitely hit that number. And so I'm excited for you to have you go on your journey. Hopefully we can identify a business model that helps you create legacy for you and your family, create the lifestyle and cash flow you're looking for. That's really what I'm passionate about. And I'm passionate about entrepreneurship and all the benefits that go along with it. We're actually in the process of writing a book, and it should be out soon. I have a great co-author. I haven't made any announcements yet, but anyway, that's the premise of the book, is why everyone should own a small business. Whether it's an extremely simple business model or it could be a very large business model, when you look at the full picture of the really wealthy people, they own real estate, they own operating businesses, and they have great tax strategy because they know all these tax codes, or their CPAs do, and they're able to make a lot of money and offset a lot of it with tax write-offs. So that's really why I believe everybody should own a small business, because it's going to help you get to where you want to go. And anyway, we've got a lot of resources on this YouTube channel. We have playlists on SBA financing, a lot on franchise financing. Utilize what we have, and we have this great financing product that can get you 80 or 90% of all the costs, even on a startup. So it's a fantastic time for us. And there's a proposal for a potential $50,000 tax deduction. I think it's at $5,000 right now, and that goes into play in the next year or so. That'll be another huge boom in business ownership. They believe it would do something like 25 million small businesses would be created because of that tax incentive. So anyway, if you have any questions, go to bookwithbo.com. If you want to take the quiz, go to businessownershipcoach.com/quiz, and I'll see you on the next episode. Hi guys, Bo Exine here, and I'm with Baby Bo. Baby Bo is just a little over 4 months. He's my first child, my wife and I. So if you want to create legacy for your family, I highly suggest you go to our Business Ownership Summit. You can find all the events we're doing. Primarily, they're all free. You can go to boexine.com/events. And I hope to see you at one of our events where we teach business ownership, how to leverage SBA financing, tax strategies. I'm not a CPA and an attorney, but we bring CPAs on. You're going to learn why everyone should own a small business. So I hope you attend. Go to boexine.com/events. I'll see you at the next one. Hey guys, Bo Exine here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.